Zack Snyder has taken another dip into the zombie genre with his latest flick, Army of the Dead, and I'm here to brag to you about how many times I saw it in theaters. 3 times. I saw it 3 times. After seeing so many movies in the last 2 weeks after getting vaccinated, most of them being re-releases of films 10 years or older, I couldn't have been more excited to see one fresh, hot out the fucking oven. And when I tell you that this is the movie to have seen in theaters after the last 15 months, I mean it. The atmosphere of a packed, socially distanced theater was electric, and being in a communal gathering where we all laughed and screamed and sat silently in awe was a genuinely emotional experience, especially after the last year and a half we've all collectively had. I'm too fucking stoked to talk about this, so let's just get into it. Army of the Dead follows a group of mercenaries heading into the lost, walled-off city of Las Vegas. There's $200 million in a casino safe, and they got to get in and out before the government nukes the city in a last-ditch effort to get rid of the undead. But some of these zombies are fucking different. They're smarter, they're stronger. They're not your regular case of mindless walkers searching for brains. And that's where the experts and a couple newbies come in. Now, other than, Dave Bautista, Tig Notaro, and Garrett Dillahunt, I personally hadn't heard of the majority of the people in this cast before. Maybe I'd seen him in like a solo thing here and there a couple of years ago, like Ana de la Reguera and Nacho Libre, but for me personally, it was an entirely, mostly fresh cast. But that's a very Zack Snyder thing to do. We all know this. He thrusts these relatively unknown actors to the big screen and gives them this like awesome, epic chance to shine. And boy, do they fucking shine. A few highlights: Dave Bautista as Scott Ward. Mind blown. It's really so cool to see someone from the WWE, an entertainment industry, sort of like The Rock, but The Rock is more of that kind of entertainer, just the biggest name in the world. Bautista is aiming for something else, and I think you can see that a lot in this film. The guy made me cry twice in this movie, dude. Twice. I mean, like, he has these great emotional, heavy beats in this movie that maybe I wasn't expecting from the movie, but I definitely wasn't expecting from him. I mean, I know he's a good actor. We've seen good performance of his in Blade Runner 2049 and Spectre, but I just did not expect such an emotionally exhausting performance. Mathias Schweigofer as expert safecracker Ludwig Dieter is an instant, easy favorite of mine. He's the adorable, hilarious levity boost that a movie like this needs and uses very well. And he definitely came off as one of the more interesting characters of the group. And I can totally understand why he's the lead of the prequel Army of Thieves, which he fucking directed. Did you know that shit? He directed it. They filmed it last year in like October in Germany, and it's coming out on Netflix soon. Snyder's making it happen for these fucking guys. Chambers, played by frequent Zack Snyder alum Samantha Win, is another fantastic highlight for this movie. I mean, we don't know much about her character, honestly, but her badassery holds no bounds. And she's probably in one of my favorite, or at least my top 3 favorite sequences of the entire movie. Do I think that a couple of the performances could have been executed a little better? I mean, yeah, particularly Raul Castillo as Mikey Guzman, the rambunctious youth, who's making his living off of like doing vlogs about killing zombies just outside of Las Vegas, which I personally thought was a hilarious juxtaposition considering he's on a group with a bunch of like, veteran mercenaries and they're all so kind of jaded, and then you have this young guy going around and doing like selfies, killing zombies. I just to maintain that would have been great, but that kind of version of his character is kind of let go almost immediately. All right, moving on. The soundtrack is sort of a mix of classic gambling Vegas tunes. It sets the tone that everything is kind of a game of chance. Snyder got Richard Cheese, the dude who did the Down with the Sickness cover in Dawn of the Dead, to do Elvis's Viva Las Vegas with Alison Krauss during the opening sequence, and I can't get their version of it, every beat they sang, out of my head since I've seen it. The score, composed by Tom Holkenborg, sets up this dreadful and triumphant tone throughout the movie. There's always this kind of teetering on each end, whether I'm going to cheer or cover my eyes. And when it comes to the visuals of this movie, the one thing that Snyder did differently for this one than than all his other projects, I think this is the first time he's done this, is he was both the director and the DP. Cinematographer. And in the past, he's worked with some excellent cinematographers, Larry Fong, Fabian Wagner, Matthew Leonetti. And there's always a sense of consistency between his movies. And it's a very, Zack Snyder look that I think most people would agree with. This time, he was on set directing the actors as well as photographing the film to his specifications, which I think, someone as explosively creative and excessive in his look as Snyder, I think it's a great, move. The way he figures out the composition of what's in frame is painterly, you know? The ruins of Vegas aren't just a backdrop for the group as they make their way to the casino. He finds a way to incorporate the setting until it sort of becomes its own personality, which is a pretty easy thing to do already with Las Vegas, you know? It's already visually popping. And then there's this vintage lens he used called the Dream Lens, which creates a whole other sense of like visual artistry. The lens gives this super shallow depth of field. It extensively blurs already what's out of frame, creating this light distortion effect. I think it really helps draw the audience's eye. The effects of this movie are so on point, it's not even funny, from the digital to the practical. I'm a huge fan of gory movies. I love excessive use of blood and guts. I think it's a very stylistic choice to make, and it helps set that tone of like this is a pretty crazy fucking world. The zombies' practical makeup done by Fractured Effects really helps sell the physical danger they bring, especially the Alpha Queen and Zeus. I mean, we get some close-ups of them that are just so intricate, and they almost tell a story themselves. You can see how the virus affected them. You can see how specific things made their bodies change or enhance, and it's so good. I really liked how physically imposing the alpha zombies were. I think it's a different type of movie monster we've seen, especially when it comes to zombies. And yeah, I know that like I Am Legend had that whole idea of like these like super kind of, you know, these zombies that think and they plan and all that. But these felt also, the fact that they also weren't completely CG, it felt very different. It felt like a very physical, imposing force that could actually do harm. And there are scenes where they're like fighting and dodging, and it's very freaky to see something that like sophisticated go up against people and to think of them as like alpha zombies. It's really, really well done. I also just think it's worth pointing out the fact that Netflix put Tig Notaro, a whole ass human being, into this movie better than Warner Brothers could remove Cavill's stash. Moving on. Now, aesthetically, I don't think I had any issue with when it came to this movie, but that's also, I'm a huge fan of the look of every one of Snyder's films. I think they're all so, as much as they have a distinct Zack Snyder feel, I think they're all so like intricate and different, and you could, you know, take a frame from each one of them and it becomes an iconic poster. I did have a couple pacing issues. I felt that maybe the first third kind of dragged a bit. You know, we get the introduction, and then there's this whole, he has to form the group, and then they learn about the mission, and then there's I think that by the time they found themselves actually going to Vegas, I was like, oh wow, okay, now it's like starting. But I also was really caught up in the character interactions. I think that Amari Hardwick's Vander Rohe and Matthias's Dieter is such a great, funny little duo. It reminded me so much of like the Flash and Green Lantern in the Justice League Unlimited. It's like a solid balance between them, and then eventually they come to a symbiotic fucking relationship, and I really enjoyed that. I thought that I could watch a whole thing of them doing, you know, a heist or something. The film did have me asking questions during a movie that I had never thought of before, like, what if this is all some infinite circle and we're all just destined to keep repeating our past mistakes in a loop and fail and fail and fail over and over again? And did those zombies fuck? Did zombies fuck? But if there's one thing to take away from this movie, it is that everyone loves a goddamn lobster roll. And those are pretty much my thoughts on Snyder's Army of the Dead. It is officially streaming on Netflix today, May 21st, but I think that it's still in theaters until Wednesday next week, maybe Cinemark theaters, or, you know, just select theaters anywhere you can find them. So if you can see this movie in theaters, please do it. If you're able to, if you have the access to do it, you're not going to regret it. It's such a great movie theater experience. Also, special announcement. I've been hinting all week that the next episode of my podcast, How's It Going to End, is going to be real fucking special, because next week I will have the bandana badass herself, Chambers, also known as Samantha Win, to join me and talk about the movie. We're going to talk about her experience filming the movie, working with Snyder, and maybe get some like behind the scenes crumbs. I don't know. I'll see what I can get my hands on. So definitely be sure to follow me on Instagram, turn those post notifications on, subscribe to the YouTube channel, and check out the podcast on Spotify and Apple Podcasts if you can't watch. You can listen there. That's pretty much it. I'll see you next time.